Hello, and welcome to the podcast with SerAaron and friends. My name is SerAaron, also known as William, and these are my two friends, Brian.
Hello.
And some guy I met on the street called Dave.
Who's ready for some sticky truth?
So, this week Dave is once again playing the video game, and it's the new South Park Stick of Truth game.
It's
so
South
Dave,
Park Friend Simulator. You go and run around town meeting people. David Hasselhoff.
just in the background. Awesome.
Yeah.
Right, so tell us about the game, David.
If I got plastic surgery, I could become David Hasselhoff. Like my face would become David Hasselhoff. That's the kind of that's the whole reason of this game.
That's the game.
That's the game. If you want a reason to buy this game, you buy things. And
that is
David
surprisingly in depth.
There's so much stuff you can do. There's a crazy amount of customization. I thought the character creator at the start was a bit naff because it didn't let me choose much stuff. And then there's so much stuff you can just loot around town, and you can make your character look like anything. And it's also confusing because you could only be a guy in this game, but then you can dress up as a woman, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
Hang on,
fine.
so is this... Did you just start a new game, or is this the character you've been playing for a while?
I just started a new game. I passed all the tutorial stuff that's been everywhere on Let's Plays. I kind of got a tiny bit into
Okay, so
the quest.
the game just doesn't open with you on the street, then?
No. That would be silly. Yeah, you kind of start when your parents moved in to South Park, and you're told to explore, and you meet butters and people, and Cartman recruits you and stuff.
Cool.
And then there's a point after that where he kind of just asks you to find people, and you just walk around town for a bit if you want. You can just ignore what he says and just do some side quests, which is always good.
Yeah. So...
The animation's surprisingly smooth.
It's a South
Compared to
Park.
what you
It looks
It's
exactly
South
like
Park.
South Park.
Yeah, there's no difference from this in the show, which is really cool. So even in the battles, there's no like weird 3D shit. It's all based on the animation style. There's nothing like weird video game about it. Even like the menus are really simple. Like they're not spectacular looking menus. It looks like a freaking Facebook profile essentially.
Oh, is it like all on your phone or whatever?
Yeah, or your like
Right.
stats, essentially your Facebook page.
Well, that's quite cool.
And your friends are kind of like skill points. So the more friends you have, the more it kind of unlocks to get perks and stuff. So
right.
you
So
get
you
experience for
collect
combat,
friends, then.
and you have to collect friends to basically advance your character. It's very clever because it does sort of base more around searching the town of South Park and meeting new people, and it gives you a reason to go into like random shops like this.
Yeah, I mean, presumably a lot of this stuff is like, not necessarily Easter eggs, but just like references to the actual show.
Yeah, like I said in the last episode, this whole game is fan service.
Yeah.
I mean, in the map, you can just there's the Terrence and Phillip playing at the cinema. Like, you can go inside and watch. Well, you can't
on
watch.
Fire 2 in 3D.
And that's Chin Pokemon.
Yes, they're collectibles and they're awesome to find. Because I remember that episode. I remember watching the episode ages ago. It's quite an old one, and you can it stars the old one. And there's Al Gore hiding behind a tree.
So I take it they got everyone from the show to voice their characters.
What do you mean?
Like all the main...
As in,
like
he's
Cartman
voiced
and shit.
by, the guys that voice him in the show.
Yeah,
That's cool.
like there's a handful of voice actors, and even then, the only other voice actors that aren't Matt Stone and Trey Parker are usually female voices, and even then, they do female voices as well. So They must have a really
Request,
nice budget for voice actors, because they can just it all goes through them.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, because it's all like through this world that's already been like pieced together with the cartoon, like it actually probably makes making a game like this quite easy, because I mean, I don't really want to go into like the lore of South Park or whatever, but like it's pre-existent from the show, so everything is already flashed out pretty much.
Yeah, it's the same as what made the Simpsons game pretty good, because they have all this stuff pre-existing.
Simpsons Hit and Run, you mean?
Yeah, like you just have to make a world that you can drive around, and it's already done throughout the series. You just have to make it explorable, and it's already fun by itself without the missions.
Yeah.
And I remember that one, the Simpsons Hit and Run had tons of unlockable characters and stuff.
Yeah, and just random like cars just in the middle of nowhere, and you could actually go up to the old monorail and like drive the monorail train.
Yeah, because that was basically Grand Theft Auto for The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I remember when I played it around my cousins, I was playing as Homer, and I found Ralph, and I just kept kicking him for like 5 minutes until the cops tried to take me down.
Yeah, that's what you can kind of do in this. You can hit people, and you can fire at people as well.
But you were saying this to me on the weekend, actually, that this is just like a generally good RPG.
Yeah, like the RPG elements are second to the South Park elements.
Yeah.
So if you bought this game without much prior knowledge to South Park, and you bought it because you thought it was a good sounding RPG, then you've probably bought it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Like, complaining about the RPG mechanics are they're not as special, they're not as important as the like if this game got the South Park wrong in this game, it would be awful.
Yeah.
But because everything is here and it's done with such care and really good sort of commitment from Obsidian to actually make all this stuff realized, the RPG elements are just kind of the cherry on top, essentially. And also, this guy sells emo stuff, and I like the aspect of dressing up your character, because in order to speak to the emos, you have to dress up as the emos. So you have to buy all the emo stuff, equip it all, and then go talk to them, and they'll actually talk to you.
Huh.
So, and there's a bit later on where I have to put on a special mask to stop myself from getting tear gassed. So
cool.
All the items kind of add into the cutscenes as well. And
Alright, so it doesn't like anything that you're wearing in game appears in cutscenes as well.
Yeah.
That's cool. I hate it when games don't do that.
I like the how it's got basically that same static image, but it has the dual layer aspect of it.
Yeah. You go like behind things and can traverse.
Oh,
Reminds
right,
me of Tomba.
Yeah. And later on, like, so you can see stuff is blocked by paths and other things. It is a bit Metroidvania, where you have to come back to certain areas with certain powers to get the collectibles. I haven't got to the spaceship part, but essentially you get an ass probe that lets you teleport to places, and it's good because there's a lot of sphincter jokes in it.
Yeah.
you have great control of your sphincter, I think Randy Marsh says. So yeah, it's very. This game is super heavy on exploration, and if you kind of run through the stuff and just do the story and the missions, you'll probably complete this in a handful of hours, maybe 5 or 6 hours, I bet.
But you'll miss most of it.
Yeah, you'll miss most of the details. Like, you could spend a good couple of minutes just looking at all this stuff, like.
Yeah.
The little posters at the back for Professor Chaos and stuff. And the minion experiments where it's got like a hamster, a fish, and like some kind of dog in a cape. And this all like is referencing previous episodes as well.
Yeah. See, I haven't actually watched that much South Park.
I haven't either, but I want to now. I want to watch a lot of the new episodes I missed. I remember watching really early South Park and then going off it a bit.
I watched,
I wasn't
like,
a
the
fan
first...
of the gross humor back then.
Yeah, I watched like the first 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And found it a little bit vulgar, to say the least, at times.
Well, the first couple of seasons are kind of a lot more graphic and gross than the later ones.
Yeah.
I think it's not that they make it more subtle, but they add a bit more charm to everything than just people shooting themselves and exploding in blood and stuff.
Yeah.
Like back then, it was pure shock value.
Yeah.
But yes, it's good to play a game like this where it harkens back to the old South Park. There are old stuff that I've kind of recognised or maybe forgotten. And even not as a huge South Park fan, I still find a ton of this stuff really funny. Just because a lot of it is a slice of lifestyle referencing modern society and especially American society.
It's like a satire or whatever.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is satire, and even when it's funnier when it's projected into the sort of mindset of a kid.
And the context of their like adventure.
It's finally a battle. Yes.
Oh, finally.
So this is the sort of Paper Mario style battle. Every time there's like a little light, that's me pressing a button to kind of get a perfect attack.
Oh, so it's got like quick time events as well. Then.
But they're not like press a giant X appears. It's more.
It's just a little ding.
Yeah, and sometimes there'll be like mash buttons and a giant A will show up. But other than that, it's fine.
Yeah.
And you can block as well. Like if you see when we get attacked, there's like a little grey shield under us. It's incredibly subtle, but essentially, if you time it correctly, you can block the attacks to reduce the damage.
Yeah.
Well, he's just getting his ass kicked.
He's like the paladin type healer, so he's not particularly strong. I didn't really like the thief class. My main character is a warrior, and I just made a thief because it's complete opposite of what I tried, and I really didn't like the thief. I like a character that can just run in and kill everyone. This one's a lot more about stunning them and doing bleed damage and stuff.
I quite liked how one of the enemies went into a riposte stance.
Yes.
Where he can, kind of counter all of your attacks.
Yeah, and there's also like reflecting stance where they'll prevent you from hitting ranged attacks.
What are those like lightning fields?
They're like breakable objects.
Oh, it's just a glow.
Yeah.
It looks like It looks like weird, like, energy entities or something.
When I first saw it, I thought they were, like, surging with lava or something. Yeah, it just, a lot of them are just breakable objects to get to new areas.
Right. I was going to ask about, like, the encounter system, because you passed the cinema before and those kids weren't there that attacked you.
Yeah, they kind of randomly...
So, do they just spawn randomly, or...?
They spawn randomly, sort of accustomed to the story, which means if you've just gone to an area and you've done some sort of story element, usually a new set of kids will respawn around the area. Sometimes like directly outside the place you just left. So if I went into an area and chances are I got some new equipment, they'll appear.
Yeah,
but
so it's
a lot of the time they'll just respawn.
So it's like once you've completed like a certain task or whatever, then they'll spawn in new enemies.
But a lot of the time,
it still seems they're quite infrequent though.
Yeah, it does seem like you're walking around a lot. You've only had one battle.
Yeah. There's a point where I've beaten everyone in this area.
Right.
I'm getting pepper spray.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, there's like I bet if I come back here there'll actually be people there. But it's just random when there's people. And to be honest, you don't really need to battle random people that much. You don't need to grind or anything. You can just do everything normally and still be pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And like as you can see, I've got a perk for having a lot more friends, and it says if I get 2 more friends, I'll get another perk.
Right, I get it. So, you passed a lot of people. Can you talk to everyone in this game, or...?
Yeah, they're like random NPCs that just kind of say weird things to you, or hints about the area,
like you
tipping off quests.
Spoken to everybody in that cinema, for example.
No, they'd probably say something like "be quiet" or "get out of here" sort of thing.
Right, yeah.
But they wouldn't go into like a cutscene of them talking to you.
Okay, so it's like context sensitive.
Yeah. That's the same way if you go up to an NPC and they're just like, "Look at my Nord, boob. I'm a Nord woman, you want it?" Sort of thing. Like, that happens in Skyrim all the time, so.
Yeah.
What? It's yours, my friend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like everybody, well, in a lot of RPGs, like everybody you can talk to regardless of what they're doing.
Yeah, they'll just turn around and be like...
Like in Skyrim, where like somebody's sleeping and you just like
Again
wake
with the
them
Skyrim.
up, and they carry on with their normal like dialogue conversations or whatever, as opposed to being like, "Why the fuck are you in my house waking me up?"
Yeah. Whereas in games like what was it called, Planetscape Torment, if you go into houses, or even Baldur's Gate, they're just like, "Yeah, it's my house, piss off."
Yeah. Wait, what did you just do?
I sold all my pubes.
Excuse me.
There's like you can pick up
like
everything, and for some reason you can find pubes in people's fridges.
Oh.
So there you go.
Because I remember there was an episode where I think Cartman was buying this other kid's pubes.
Yeah.
Another sneaky little reference.
And there's like an episode where Cartman makes this kid eat curry made out of his parents, and you can get that as well.
Made out of his parents.
Yeah, he kills his parents and makes like curry out of them, and then makes them cry in front of a Radiohead.
What?
It's a classic episode.
It's a really, really dark one. And I also noticed in Jimbo's Gun Shop there was that monster from, I think, I don't know, episode 3 or 4 or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's referencing really old stuff.
Yeah.
I like how they've just got like strap-on elf ears.
Yeah, like they just like it is just like cosplay sort of style dress up.
Yeah.
And you can like get actual armor, but I like it being like Butters, where it's just his top with like a really crappy string and a shield. And he's like this paladin, and like later on you can get him turn into Professor Chaos, and he's just this giant guy who just stomps onto the screen and just explodes everybody.
Oh no, did he just die?
Yes, I can revive him with a taco.
Oh,
It's
right.
cool, he just waved the taco in the air and it wakes him up. Like, the aroma of taco wakes him up.
So can you get people like Cartman and Kyle on your team?
Cartman and Kyle are technically the leaders of the factions.
Yeah.
You can get Stan, you can get, I forgot his name, the guy who's got, like, arm braces.
Oh,
Jimmy.
Yeah, and he's a bard, and it's so funny because there are cutscenes where he starts stuttering, and he stutters so much that it actually comes up with the skip thing, the tutorial skip. Like, you can't get past without skipping the tutorial because he'll just keep stuttering for the rest of time. That's like another thing is it does really good to kind of add in like sort of references to game conventions without making it overdrawn, without it being like, oh, this is a game, and never like do the characters reference themselves being in a game, but at the same time they do, but very subtly.
Yeah.
Like you walk into Cartman's house and Cartman's mum welcomes you, and Cartman just goes, "Don't listen to her, she's not in the game." And like how they handle being popular equates to you leveling up or ranking up.
Yeah.
And like this one I'm about to do, you just walk into a bar and they just say, "We've got some rats in the basement." Like really cliche.
Oh,
That is pretty cool.
Sort of tropes to RPG video games.
Yeah, well, that's probably because Obsidian made this, right?
Yeah.
That's probably a reference to Icewind Dale then, because there's a mission right at the start of that where you have to take out some firebugs in somebody's basement.
Is it like?
There's also the 3D Baldur's Gate where
the
you
console
kill
version.
rats in a basement.
I remember that.
And then in
Dark
Bard's
Alliance,
Tale, they parody it. The one before that. I never played Dark Alliance, but always kind of wanted to.
What was the one before Dark Alliance?
Just Baldur's Gate,
Yeah.
the PS2.
Look at the death stare on that bartender.
The unblinking eyes.
Dark Alliance was really good.
Yeah. Do you remember Champions in the Wrath?
No?
Vaguely, yeah.
That was. I liked Champions in the Wrath. That was
pretty cool.
I liked those ones. Good old hack and slashes. And I'm fighting rabies rats. That's like, and when I first did the playthrough, there's a thing in the scenery where if you knock it over and it lands on you, you just die instantly. And it confused the hell out of me. No, like in this, like when you're exploring, there's a part of the scenery that you can knock down, and if it falls on you, you die instantly.
Oh right, like if you knock a like a heavy object off a roof or something.
You can do that to enemies if they're walking into something. Like there are parts inside the school where there's a billboard hanging by one nail, and if you use your archery to shoot it down, it'll fall on them and kill them instantly, sort of saving you from doing a battle.
Do you still get like XP?
Yeah.
Right.
So it kind of feels like it's got the sort of the Earthbound style. If you're so over leveled compared to them, they'll kind of die almost automatically.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was just like a scene. Because a lot of this stuff, you're not sure if it's a real battle or it's just something to take the piss.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one part where you leave this store and a bunch of elves come up to you and say, we're taking you to our elf camp. There's nothing you can do about it. You can fight us, but it won't change anything. And you can choose to surrender or fight them. And even if you fight them and beat them, they'll just instantly get up and go, see, I told you nothing will change, and then just capture you.
Yeah, I was gonna say Earthbound's like a weird example because, like as RPGs go, like, because it's one of those games that's definitely more about the story or whatever, and the combat is, the combat mechanics are mostly just there to, a lot of them are symbolic, and a lot of the other ones are just there to like interrupt the story or whatever.
It's a game that I've found I've had to do. There are some areas where I've had to kind of grind and come back to beat them, like especially the bosses that you beat to get the weird little songs in it.
Yeah. Talking of Earthbound's actually quite a big inspiration for this game.
Yeah. Because you mentioned it, I was going to ask how similar is it?
I think it is just the whole thing of a kid's view of the world.
Yeah.
Which is
and the kind of childlike weapons.
Yeah, in Earthbound, you use like baseball bats, and you're a kid in this big world, and a lot of the stuff you don't really understand. Like it's much bigger than you that you kind of just have to go with it. Like and like the childlike innocence of serious situations.
How does it portray that though? Because like, you know, Earthbound has stuff where there's like enemies that are like symbolic of, I don't know, like child abuse or something.
Yeah,
and
it's nothing like that.
It's a completely like uninterpretable entity or whatever.
Yeah, there's nothing like that, but it's like at one point you get to a really big part of the story and you're like, oh, this is going to be amazing, and then suddenly their parents come back and say it's like middle of the night, you should go to bed, and they will like run back to their houses because their parents told them to, and like it just ends there.
Yeah.
So it kind of, you get lost in this story and then suddenly you're like pulled back to the fact that you're just a kid in this village.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It's a really good game. I wouldn't suggest paying full price for it. I bet it'll be quite cheap soon.
Yeah.
And I think, as much as Matt and Trey have been against DLC, I think there might be some DLC for it.
Right.
Because Ubisoft.
Yeah.
And to be honest, people would buy it if they did make it.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised in the slightest if this game got DLC down the line.
Fair enough.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $29.99 for it.
Ooh, doggy, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I kind of regret it because I wanted to pre-order Dark Souls 2, and a couple of days after I bought it, it just appeared on Steam.
Yeah.
But though I'm probably gonna buy a key elsewhere instead of Steam, because 40 quid for Dark Souls 2 on Steam is a lot.
Yeah.
And I found a key that I used, a key site that I used for getting Devil May Cry, and it's about 25 quid.
Oh, right.
So when does Dark Souls come out on Steam?
25th of April.
Oh.
That's the Universal PC. Yeah.
Jeez.
So I have to wait essentially a month.
It was better than, months and months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Years or however long it took.
I'm fine with waiting a month because
yeah, actually, considering how bad the Dark Souls PC port is, if they're taking a little bit of time with it, I'm okay.
The only reason they released the Dark Souls port is because people demanded it, and they were just oh, okay.
And then people complain about the glitchiness of Blighttown.
Yeah. There's actually a pseudo Blighttown in Dark Souls 2 that people have found. There is a point in Dark Souls 2 where you just get to a dark, dingy cave which runs at about 10 frames a second.
Nice.
So, I guess...
I wonder if it's deliberate.
Oh, God.
There's a kind of ode to it.
There's a reason I absolutely despise Blighttown in Dark Souls 1.
I haven't been there yet, I don't think.
Yeah, you're gonna...
Basically, the scripting, the way that the AI moves using paths, fucks up in the kind of environment in Blighttown. So, as long as any enemy is alive, it'll run like shit. But if you kill them, it runs fine. So just don't visit bonfires.
But the PC version fixes it, but only slightly. You can still the frame rate sinks at that point. But in the console version, it is astonishingly bad. And that's one of the reasons I'm saving for the PC version is I don't necessarily want to play a 20 frames a second game.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of Let's Plays of the beginning, and there is a lot of screen tearing, and there's a lot of frames dropping at just turning around and stuff. Yeah. So even if it runs at a very subtle 40 or so, that's fine.
Oh yeah, if I bought the Steam version, I'd probably be running it at 1 to 3 frames a second. Yeah. So.
Dark Souls 1 isn't a very demanding game.
No, it's not very PC. Graphically intensive.
Yeah, it's just the poor kind of...
It's bad optimization.
Yeah, it's not a port that they really cared with. It's just something people demanded, so screw it, let's just release it as it is on a PC.
Yeah.
And
that's
fans
why
kind
you
of
get annoying things like when you move the mouse, even though you're using a controller, it still moves the screen and stuff like that.
They should make it so your mouse just, if you're using a controller, that it disables the mouse.
Yeah.
At least when it's outside, because it's annoying as hell.
Yeah, if you just knock the mouse while you're playing, then you...
moving your mouse, the cursor away from the screen, and your character looks up.
Yeah.
It's very annoying.
Funny, you never have that problem when you play on console.
Let's not go into this. But speaking
casual.
Speaking of Dark Souls in general, I've been playing a lot more of it this week.
And dying less, I hope.
Yes, a lot less. I'm finally not completely naked. And I'm really enjoying it. It's so much fun. It feels like I hate the word, but it feels very Metroidvania-y.
Fuck's sake.
Well, it does, because it's I can explore over here and kill these things, and then you find, I don't know, a better weapon, or you level up or whatever, and then you feel strong enough to go back to some place that you
but I think it's done in a slightly more clever way than just the kind of
it's not as linear as like
but I mean
game, which is really good.
Some of the earlier weapons can be a lot better than ones that you find a little bit later on.
Yeah. Well, like for example,
the
like
sickle.
I got the Drake's sword.
Oh my god, I hate you.
What?
Just don't use dragon weapons. Don't be a pussy. Use a proper weapon, upgrade it like a real man, and play the game properly.
Well, I was using the Zweihander because I like leveled up my strength enough. But then I managed to cut the Drake's tail off, so I'm using the Drake's sword now.
Yeah, but that's like the easiest thing to do.
No, it's not.
It took a while.
Just shoot it with
took
arrows.
me like a good hour.
No, I
try
told him to do it the proper way.
Yeah, so I did it the
at
proper
least
way.
you did it that way. But still, dragon weapons.
Shooting that
come on.
like that's the fucking, like you said, the pussy way to do it, because you're just like, I don't want to run towards it. I'm just gonna shoot it with arrows for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like using legendary Pokemon. I just don't like to do it.
Yeah, but
like
in
to
this
do it the
case,
hard way.
the legendary Pokemon at one point becomes redundant enough for you to have to go to use proper weapons again.
Yeah, I mean,
which I guess is another kind of complaint against using it, because all that time you could be just getting one of your other weapons better.
I mean, I feel powerful with it, but it's allowed me to progress a lot more than I would have without it. Right? Like I can, like I went down into the Darkroot Garden. I killed the Moonlight Butterfly. I've been like grinding a load of mobs down there, like the giant iron golem things.
Yeah.
I killed the Gargoyle Bell Tower thing. And I've
In
been
that
like,
order?
Oh, no. Wait. Can't remember.
It doesn't really matter what order you do.
It doesn't really
it.
matter what order.
I was just curious, because I didn't really know that you could go around the Darkroot Garden until I think I'd done the second bell.
You can get there before beating any boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I usually one of the awesome things about it, because you can even go through that thing to Blighttown right at the start if you choose the Master Key.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things I go if I make a new character, particularly a melee one, is I get the grass shield, which the Black Knight is guarding.
I got the grass shield, yeah.
Because it's so useful.
Yeah. And then it was really funny because I was like, I picked up the grass shield and killed the Dark Knight that was there, and then carried on down that path and ran into the Hydra and was just shat myself. I was like do, and there's like the ice golem things, and I was like, oh, ice golems, and they were like legitimately tough enemies, and I was like, oh, these are really fun to fight. And then like I got hit by this giant blob of water, and I was like, holy shit, that just took off half my life. And I like looked, and I was like, "That's a Hydra!" Oh, and just ran away.
I hate that boss fight so much.
How have you been finding the Black Knights?
The first one I fought in what's it called?
Undeadburg.
Undeadburg. Like that was the hardest one because like I kept coming back to it, and I like killing that was like so satisfying. Because like I learned its attack moves, and I like learned its animations, and just like knew exactly when to get out the way and stuff. So like that felt like the boss fight of Undeadburg more than the Taurus Demon. And then when I ran into a second one, like up the tower just across the bridge from Undeadburg, like after you pass the Drake. Like, there's a spiral tower, and there's one just at the top of the tower. Like, I was like, oh, shit, another Dark Knight. Better fight it. And I, like, killed it first time. And I was like, that was way easier than the first one. And then I've killed, like, 3 or 4 others since then.
Yeah, when I first found the Dark Knight, I was like, okay, he looks kind of slightly scarier than the other enemies. And then he just, like, fucking tears you to shreds. And I'm like, oh, God. Because that first one, he's guarding like a teardrop ring or something.
Yeah, it's really useful.
And yeah, the first time I got that, I was just like, he's really fucking scary. I'm just going to drop down and steal it and then get killed.
Yeah.
I'd rather do it that way.
No, I didn't do that because I didn't know where to drop down. So I basically like had a montage to try and kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, early on I followed a lot of the kind of drop here messages, which got me killed, but sometimes got me pretty cool stuff.
Right. No, I've only seen one of them, and it was an obvious trap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been reading that. Well, I've been reading them more, but when I first started, I didn't really read any of the messages. Some of them have been helpful because it's like, like ambush ahead or something, or like there was one with what are they called? Not the stray demons, the Titanite demons. Like when you go down past the blacksmith and into Darkroot Garden, there's that Titanite demon that looks fucking horrific with like no head and one leg and a giant staff, and it shoots lightning at you. When I first saw that, I shat myself.
He actually shat himself.
It's legitimately terrifying, and I like ran up to it and it just one-shot me with its staff, and then like I wound up just hiding behind a rock and shooting it with a crossbow for ages, and like just eventually chiseled it down to practically no health until I ran out of crossbow bolts, and then I could just run up to it and hit it once.
I've got to admit, my favourite message is before the Quelaag boss fight. It's like, danger! Amazing chest ahead! It's like the first thing the camera goes onto of her.
And then I did all of that stuff, and then I was a bit lost until this morning, because I'd gone back to, well, I after I ran away from the Hydra, I went down this like tunnel near where you get the grass shield, and wound up in Drake's Valley. And fucking died. So I went back up to I basically went all the way back to Firelink Shrine and tried like all of the old paths that I'd messed up going to on my 2 episodes ago on the podcast. Like I went down to New Londo, still couldn't fight the ghosts, so went to the graveyard with all the skeletons, and then I could kill them. So I went down into the crypt and got insta-killed by some giant glowing screaming skeleton skulls.
Oh Christ, yeah, they are rough.
Yeah. Because that was terrifying as well, because it was pitch black, and I was like, what is that sound? And I stepped down some stairs, and there's like one skeleton dude, like the normal ones in the graveyard, and I was like, oh, these guys, sweet, I know what I'm in for with this place. And then I went to hit him and got hit by this giant purple energy ball, and this horrible screaming just like echoed around me, and I like insta died. I was like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, I think the enemy that scared me the most was when I was in the New Londo ruins with the ghosts, and I was walking around, and there was that kind of banshee ghost. And yeah, she kind of screams at you and floats around, which is alright, kind of scary. Then she disappeared, came through the wall behind me, grabbed my character, screeched in my fucking ears, and stabbed me about 20 times, killing me almost instantly. I was like, what the fuck?
One thing that's really cool is in the catacombs, once you get the item to kill the ghosts, and you can just happily kill the ghosts, I was just running through, killing them all. And there's a bit where you get to a building, and inside the building is the same kind of ghost, but instead of like holding the little two scythes in her hand, she's actually holding a child.
Weird.
And she just stands there, and I was just going through the motions of running through and just like ran through and stabbed them, and I just went, wait, was that ghost holding a child?
And you just mercilessly
and I just fucking ran in and killed them.
Is it? I don't know. What's the morality of killing ghost babies?
I don't know.
Because they're already dead.
Maybe it puts them out of their misery. I don't know.
Ghost
like
babies.
Jagged blade, which I think it is.
How do you kill ghosts? Because I think I've encountered some more in Darkroot Garden.
Well, you need to use either the transient curse, or you need to kill enough of them for them to drop their weapons, because you can only hurt them with ghost weapons or whilst you're under the effect of the transient curse.
Yeah.
What's the transient curse?
It's like that sort of thin blue hand.
Oh, that thing, yeah. So
it drops right at the start, but even then, you have to be quite strong to be able to, like... You want to at least one-shot them, because they kind of gang up on you.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm not sure if they're ghosts or not, but I basically wound up grinding, because I didn't know where to go, I wound up grinding those golems in Darkroot Garden so that I could have enough souls to buy the Ascension Talisman, or whatever it's called, the Heart of the Forest that you put into the gate next to the secret bonfire.
You're going to love it when you get through that door.
Yeah, no, I did. I opened that door and got killed by, like, clerics and dudes, and I could attack some of them, but not others, so I'm not sure if they're ghosts or not.
Yeah, they are the best people to grind at your level, I imagine. But just don't do it when you're human, because you'll be invaded constantly.
So what is that area? Because it's, like, full of normal people.
It's part of a covenant, so those NPCs, I guess they just kind of represent characters in the covenant. But because it is part of a covenant, any player that's a part of that, when they wear a ring, they kind of randomly get transported to any player's world if they're in that area.
Right.
And you get trapped in there with a white wall.
Yeah, I think I had somebody do that to me.
If you see the white wall, get ready.
Yeah, get ready to disconnect.
I did that a surprising amount. Like, tons of people would try and invade me, and I'd be like, nope.
And Dark Souls 2, one thing I noticed while watching a Let's Play, the main menu said online mode on/off.
Huh.
So I'm wondering if you
I'm
can
not sure I like
actually
that.
switch the online mode on and off. Which is weird, because in Dark Souls 2, there's like a covenant specifically made, like the same way the forest, the Guardian of the Forests are, but for like new players, where if a new player has like a certain item on and is invaded, that it would, like, guardians would be summoned to help them.
Oh, that is cool.
Really
I like
cool.
that.
I think it's like the blue something, and they're like, they're supposed to be there to help like lost souls and hollows, but then there's like NPCs telling you they're evil and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that is cool.
I'm gonna try and I've watched a bit of the start of Dark Souls, but I want to keep like a lot of the Covenant stuff a secret, because I think they're the best stuff is the Covenants.
Yeah.
I've only mainly seen the Peter SerAaron.FG video where it's like, I just love Dark Souls.
I think Dark Souls represents my dreams, where I wake up and I strangle puppies in my death. It reminds me of the story about a tree. And he just goes on.
Classic pity.
Yeah, so now I'm back in Undeadburg, in Lower Undeadburg, and I just got one shot by the goat demon thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think that's one of the hardest bosses, purely for that
is.
one moment.
Yeah.
If you mess up the start, you've already messed up, essentially.
Yeah.
It's frustrating as hell.
It's such kind of good level design on their part, because they basically just cram you in a fucking tiny place.
It's a fucking horrible place to fight a boss. Like, I thought that the Moonlight Butterfly was horrible, because I was like, shit, I don't have a ranged weapon. Like, I just walked into that area and was like, oh crap, I'm stuck on a bridge with this thing, and it shoots horrible death bolts at me, and I don't have a ranged weapon. And then I noticed, like, one of its animations is it, like, flies close to the bridge and, like, stays there for a little while whilst it charges something up. And I was like, oh, that's my opportunity to go and hit it. And I, like, got a full round of attacks off on it before it flew away, and I like took half its health off and was like, oh, okay, I just have to avoid attacks for another round.
Well, my guy could throw lightning bolts, so that's all I had to do. Lightning bolts, block.
Yeah, it's quite easy. Apparently it's not a proper boss, though.
No,
you don't
because
have to kill it.
It's kind of like the... I'm not sure if it's the Taurus or the Goat Demon, or both of them, but there's a point where you come across them as normal enemies.
Right.
So it's like a mini-boss.
Yeah, Taurus demons, I think. Because technically the Taurus demon isn't necessary. It's just a shortcut to get to the bridge. There are ways to get to the bridge without killing the Taurus demon.
What? Really?
How so?
Actually, no, because the gate would be closed.
No, yeah, you have to kill the Taurus
and the
demon.
ladder's not pushed
Yeah,
down.
the ladder's not there.
Like,
Wait,
unless you go...
No, you can. You can get to the Bridge of the Dragon without opening the gate and killing the Taurus demon.
The Undead Berg way?
You'd have to go from the Darkroot Forest up to where the blacksmith is, go backwards towards where the boar is.
Yeah, unless you go backwards.
Go underground to the rats and then knock the ladder
Wait, how
down.
do you get to the Darkroot Forest without beating the demon?
You go through the Master Key way. Master Key to the Valley of Drakes.
Yeah.
God.
But that would...
Not everything.
that would require that, like, you'd have to be a really high level to do that. And
No, you don't.
Well...
You can do that.
You
You
can't...
just have to be
Clever.
fast enough.
You have to be fast. You have to know what to dodge and know what not to fight.
Yeah.
And you can just parry the enemies, so you can just one-shot them.
Especially those, the Boulder skeleton knights. Because when
Yeah.
I first fought them, they were fucking terrifying. I had to sneak past the bastard.
Yeah.
Oh, first time I encountered one of them, I saw it down a corridor and I was like, what the fuck is that? What is that? So I thought it was a new form of Dark Knight or something, so I prepared for like a really epic battle, and then I just two-shot it, and was like, well, I guess these are really easy then.
When I first fought them, I wasn't really leveled up that much. And I think I was like running and jumping an unnecessary amount, and I kind of attracted the attention of one of the much later ones that went all the way round, and whilst I was just walking on casually, I just heard this kind of metal footstep, and I was like, what the fuck is that? Where is that? And then before I could turn around, it just went into this animation of his sword going through my chest, and I was like, fuck! That was terrifying.
That one in the church, though, underneath where you fight the gargoyle boss, though, it's not... It's sort of like a Black Knight, but not really. The giant guy with a shield and a hammer.
Yeah. The
yeah. The kind of... They look like Iron Tarkus with the steel armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they just look like different forms of the Black Knights, really.
You get his armor later on. It's like the Golden Knight armor with the circle on the chest.
I made a really cool barbarian-looking guy with white hair. Well, like grey hair. It wasn't like enemy. It was like age.
Oh yeah. The other thing I did was I found the Onion Knight.
Yeah.
And,
Onion Knight's awesome.
David told me like, oh, if you find him and attack him, he'll pummel the shit out of you. And I was like, he can't be that tough. So I attacked him, and he just like slams his greatsword on me, and I just like disappear into the ground. And I was like, shit. So then I like went back and then realized like my horrible mistake, and he like continued to attack me. I thought it was like a one-off thing.
Yeah, and that is a shame because you've kind of cut yourself off of his storyline, which is
I mean, I felt bad afterwards. I was like, I didn't really want to piss him off. I just wanted to like see what Dave was talking about. So I wound up absolving my sins.
Yeah.
Which cost like as much souls as the Heart of the Forest did. So I wound up grinding a lot.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like in my first playthrough, I killed the frickin' gaping dragon to get that door. So it cost quite a lot of souls to actually save up for.
Yeah, well, basically what I found was in the like area just before you fight the Moonlight butterfly, there's well, there's the hidden bonfire next to the gate into Darkroot Garden. And you go down that path, and then there's basically like 4 of those golems, but they're all asleep. And then you walk up to them and like aggro them, but you can aggro them one at a time.
Yeah.
So I was just very careful and did that. And if I got a flawless run, then that was basically 2,500 souls. And then if I died, it didn't matter because I could get back to that area very easily. So I just did that like 10 times and wound up with 20,000 souls.
Did you hear that in Dark Souls 2 you can't actually do that anymore? It gets to a point when the enemies all like leave. You can kill them all out.
Also, I heard there's a way that you can opt to make the game harder.
Yeah, there's a item which basically it makes the enemies the same difficulty as New Game Plus, and it makes them come back. Yeah. So if you killed everyone and you need a place to sort of grind, you can just do that to make them harder, but also bring them back. Which I guess is good because sometimes it is annoying running through areas with low-level enemies. But it's nice to have the security of a grinding spot.
Yeah, it's kind of funny going back through old areas, actually. Like, that cliffside where I basically spent the first hour and a half fighting the same 7 hollows in the first Dark Souls video on whatever episode of the podcast it was. Like, going back to that area is like so trivial now. Because I've got like elite knight's armor and the grass shield and the drake sword and shit, and the gargoyle helmet. So it's just like, this is so much easier than it was like 10 hours ago or whatever. But it's a really nice feeling of progression as well, because you come back to old areas and you're like, wow, look how much better I am. Whereas if you just like linearly progress, then you never actually see how much you've improved because everything like scales with you or whatever.
Yeah, it was quite fun. I was playing my mate's save on Dark Souls, and he was in Blighttown, and he was basically saying, I'm really stuck, because it was like the first time he got there. And I hadn't played it in ages, but it does kind of become almost subconscious, because I was walking through and there was all of those kind of troglodyte-like things with the bone clubs, and I was kicking the shit out of them, and his gear was absolute shit, and I did no damage. The only way I could get them was backstab them, but I was dodging everything, killing them all, and getting rid of the toxic dark guys and everything. And yeah, it's just it feels good.
Yeah, my like combat skills have improved as well, because I'm like I've learned enemies' attack animations and stuff, so I know exactly when to roll and dodge and all that crap. Like it's a really like good way of designing like that aspect of the game. Like, it's a really good game in general. But yeah, I was watching a stream of Dark Souls 2 for a little bit yesterday, and
don't you dare spoil nothing, son.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, it looks basically like Dark Souls. Like, it looks exactly the same. Yeah. It's just more of the same, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, a lot of people have said it is better.
Yeah.
So, goddamn, do I want it?
Yeah, I think it's always going to be compared to the original, but I think when they said it was going to be made more accessible and people thought that meant it was going to be easier, it's definitely more accessible the way it's more RPG accessible. Like, you can warp from the start to different bonfires. Apparently you can respec your character at some point from an NPC. So there's little things like that have made it.
So my level 120 bloody monk guy wouldn't be useless.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking of making a cleric for my first character.
Yeah, clerics are amazing. I absolutely love them.
Especially with the Estus Flask change. Have it only being able to have, like, at the start of the game, for the first few hours, you have 1, maybe 2 Estus Flasks max.
Oh, wow.
That's good. Yeah, and you have like a disposable health item.
Yeah, and it really makes you, watching like people play it, it really makes you appreciate how much you chugged Estus flasks in the first game.
Yeah.
Like
you can chug like 3 in one go.
You essentially had it as a drip feed.
Yeah.
Like, if you died a tiny bit, you take an Estus flask to go back to full health, but now you have to use it when you desperately need that full health. And even then, when you take it, it very slowly climbs the health back. It doesn't instantly come back.
Oh, right.
So they've made it harder in that aspect, but I definitely want a heal spell now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll probably just play a Deprived again.
I think they've made Deprived even harder now because you don't get the luxury of being able to explore that far now. A lot of stuff is like it's not blocked off, but it's like you can't run to the very, very furthest places, unlike in Dark Souls. You'd have to properly dodge everything. I haven't seen anyone go further than the main hub world.
Right.
Also, like when I get Dark Souls 2, I want to make a normal character, and then I want to make another character and just kill every NPC and see what I get.
I don't know. After learning about all of the lore and everything, I don't think I could do that.
I'd be happy to kill someone if it means them dropping an interesting item.
So
the guy, like, there's characters, NPCs who just are sitting there with items that you can recognize from the first game.
Oh, right.
So, and there's a ton of NPCs, like much, much more than any you'll meet, even with a long Dark Souls playthrough. Like, there's more NPCs in the hub world than most there are NPCs in like the game.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of stuff to say, and a lot. Again, if you keep talking to them, they'll reveal small stuff about the lore or covenants and stuff.
Yeah. I remember what you were saying about voice acting, Brian, before I'd played it. And I think you said something like it's not. Well, it is bad voice acting, but it's appropriate. And I at first I didn't understand what you meant, but I completely agree now. Like, all of the characters have this weird demeanor to them, and it comes off in their voice, but it makes it like much more interesting because of that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, I really like that.
That's why I'm kind of confused that Peter SerAaron.FG is a character in the second one. I just kind of hope that he... because in interviews with him about it, he kind of says he hopes that he fits that whole feel of the voice acting in the first one.
Wait, who?
Peter SerAaron.FG?
Is he the guy...
The Brian Butterfield. Pint o' cream. That stuff.
Oh, him!
Yeah!
Jesus.
Yeah! A comedian is now an actor in Dark Souls 2. Though, I don't know. I don't want to kind of... I can't say I've seen him act in anything, so I don't want to say he's bad.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of... I'm curious.
Yeah, I'd like to think that if I played the game and did notice who he was, then he'd achieve it.
Yeah. Because I'd hate to have an NPC where I have this kind of preconception or like prior attachment to. Because if I'm like, oh, that's Peter SerAaron.FG, I'd be like, that would change my opinion of the character.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess kind of like John Cleese in Elder Scrolls Online. Like,
apart from in Dark Souls, you actually have some sort of connection to the NPCs.
No, but I mean, like, if a character, or Liam Neeson in Fallout, like, it's
in Fallout.
No, is it? Yeah, it's Fallout. Fallout 3.
Really?
Liam Neeson plays your dad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like games where there's a famous voice actor. You don't go, oh, that's that character. You go, oh, that's Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Or, oh, that's John Cleese. And suddenly that character is just John Cleese as opposed to the character that they're trying to be. Yeah. So if it is that, in Dark Souls 2, I'd say that's a failure.
Yeah, definitely.
What would happen if one of the people, you talk to one of the NPCs in Dark Souls 2 and it's just like Steve Merchant? Just a really upbeat Steve Merchant.
I would put my controller down and just...
hello.
Just think.
I see you've become a hollowed.
I don't know, he kind of fit.
Not a huge problem.
Right, but, not a big deal, okay. But you kind of died a little bit. Right, lads. Let's just hope he's not in it.
Yeah.
That would suck.
But yeah,
the end boss is him.
That is always a problem.
That could just
with
a giant dragon. Like,
I don't know. No, if he was kind of like the pygmy, and they did it in a really kind of endearing, naive, ignorant way, it could work. But it would take a lot of fucking talent.
Yeah, talent that Stephen Merchant doesn't really have. Like, yeah, because like, with some games it's not as important, but I feel with Dark Souls, like, if there's any thing that you recognize about a character's voice that makes them not that character, then that's a failure of the voice actor.
Well, there's a game that has a kind of similar feel to the voice acting, obviously not to the same extent, but Drakengard on the PS2. I don't recognize any of the actors, but their deliveries and everything. Well, actually, there's one actress in it who I recognize afterwards, but she doesn't sound like she normally does.
Yeah.
And it's this whole kind of really unsettling delivery that they have in a really disturbed world that really makes the game great. And yeah, if it was like, I don't know, John DiMaggio and some other guy in that game, I'd be like, nah, this game sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it when you play a game and
the characters feel like the characters.
Yeah, the characters feel like the characters, and it's only years later when you just happen to look it up on IMDb or whatever, and then you're like, wait a minute, they were in that game?
Yeah.
And then you're like, who do they play? And then they just play like some random guy, and you're like, oh my god, I never knew. Like, that's when it's good, when it takes you years to notice.
Yeah. Because there's a character in Drakengard called Ariosh, and she's fucking insane, and she does it so well. She's like, I love her character so much. And her voice actress is the person that voiced Azula in Avatar, like the first season.
Oh, wow.
And she is so good at being
she's
insane.
a really good voice actress.
Yeah, like one of the final parts in the series of Avatar, there's a bit where she
goes kind
has
of crazy.
Yeah, she has a delivery like that, and chills, man. Chills.
Azula is a really good character.
Yeah.
Like, watching her, like, character develop... Oh my god, Avatar is just really fucking good.
Stop listening and go freaking watch it. But yeah, imagine a character kind of like Azula, but she's kind of lost her ovaries and her children and has some crazy obsession with kids, and she's completely snapped, and there's a kid in your party that she tries to fucking murder the whole time.
Oh, Jesus.
It's beautiful. I love that game.
I've never played it. I think I've heard of it, but yeah. Is it just is it an RPG or?
No, it's kind of like Dynasty Warriors-esque with missions, but it has a kind of like the mechanics aren't as polished, so they're a lot harder, and that also kind of lends to the charm. It's a very kind of a dark and similar kind of feeling game to Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Obviously, not to the same extent.
In terms of atmosphere and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should just carry on talking about Dark Souls and make this the Dark Souls episode.
No. I think that we should talk about Dragon's Dogma. Because it's a really good game. There's ghosts in it that like grab you and you have to wiggle the stick, but not in a kind of lame QuickTime event.
Have you been playing Dragon's Dogma this week?
No, I haven't even
Well,
had time
let's
to do
not
that.
talk about it because...
Oh, man.
Thank God!
But there's like bits where you get grabbed and you're like, oh my God! But no, right, fine. Let's talk about what you want to do.
Well, who had topics? Because we've just been talking about Dark Souls for 40 minutes.
Yep.
Thank God. Brian.
Oh, for God's sake, I knew you were going to do that. So, I wanted to talk about a game that none of you have played and anyone listening probably hasn't heard of.
This is Dragon's Dogma.
What game?
It's probably Dragon's Dogma.
Die by the sword.
Die by the sword.
Yeah, it's
I've heard of it. I've watched you play it.
Yes,
Yeah.
you certainly have.
We mentioned it in the first episode.
Did we?
Yeah, very briefly.
Oh, that's a nice little link back. So, yeah, basically, Die by the Sword is a kind of old school PC adventure game where you control the character's sword arm with a mouse.
Yeah.
And as basic as that sounds, it makes the combat really, really complex and entertaining and satisfying. Because sometimes you'll accidentally lop a kobold's head off, or you'll chop an orc's leg off or something. And it's not necessarily skill-based, it's more kind of luck-based, which makes it kind of crushingly hard in parts. But the good thing about it is it breaks up these, like the little patches of combat with traps and things that are unique to the levels. So ones you'll come across that you'll likely never come across again. Like in the first area, there's these mines, and you'll be walking along, and there's something about like the camera angle and the oldness of it that makes it really kind of daunting and unsettling. And yeah, you'll be walking along, and suddenly you'll step into a rope trap. Your character will be hung upside down, swinging with physics, as two orcs jump out, and you're like madly flailing your sword, trying to cut yourself free. And yeah, in later levels, instead of ropes, you'll have like tentacles, or you'll have these other things. Like there's a part where there's a kobold who's kind of hanging from a rope, and you can choose to kill him, which does nothing, or you can save him, and he kind of runs through this little tunnel, brings out a box, does his little weird yelping sound, and he gives you a health potion.
So if anybody doesn't know what Die by the Sword is, it came out in 1998, and it was made by Treyarch, interestingly.
Yeah.
And the reason you probably never heard of it is because it came out like basically around the same time as Tomb Raider, which basically overshadows its sales results.
I'll probably say Die by the Sword is actually a better game.
Well, it's because the game came out at the same time doesn't mean I would completely overshadow it. But...
Well,
I think
according to
just
Wikipedia, Tomb Raider overshadowed the sales figures of Die by the Sword.
Just an excuse. I think Die by the Sword is kind of hard to get into, but once you do get into it, is incredibly rewarding. And yeah, as I was saying about the mechanics, it is mostly luck-based, but there's skill in like dodging or blocking enemies' attacks.
Yeah.
And the different monsters, the way that they attack, and the physics behind the damage and everything, because it's all calculated by speed and force. So if you'll fight this guy with a massive arm and he hits you with a sword, chances are he'll just lop your leg off in one.
Seriously, why haven't anyone made a game like that?
I don't know, it's because I guess it's...
When did you say it was released? 1999?
1998.
98,
So,
Jesus
16
Christ.
years.
That's a long time.
That's a freaking... Oh, like, the closest game I can think to that hasn't even come out yet, and it's that top-down, physics-based role-playing game where, like, he's against that giant golem that, like, smacks him around.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing I can think of, and maybe the Mount and Blade games. But even then, they're kind of iffy.
Crappy. Yeah.
They're a mod, essentially.
Yeah.
They're not a proper game.
Yeah, but there's something about the mechanic and just the way that everything's done that really kind of brings you into the environment a lot more. Because if you see like this crazy cricket monster that's trying to pierce you to shit, and you know, it's not a simple case of pressing like left and X to beat it. It's a case of stepping backwards, trying to get your arm around a rock.
Whoa, wait a minute. Did you say cricket monster?
Yeah.
Cricket monster.
There's like these...
As in the sporting cricket monster.
I meant mantis, actually.
Is he called a wicket?
It's a... I'm just imagining like a stick insect made out of cricket bats
Like,
it's kind of like a stick insect mantis.
Look out, it's got a sticky wicket.
But yeah, there's moments in that game where you'll go through a room and then suddenly you'll see a massive ogre who can kill you in one hit, and you have to fight it for about 3 minutes to try and kill it.
Yeah.
I want a game where you basically run in with physics and stuff like that, where if an ogre hits you, you'll fly backwards and, like, blast through a stone pillar and, like, fall to the floor and slowly get up, and you're like, oh shit, that hurt, rather than, ow, I lost health.
Yeah.
Like, that's so much more impactful than just losing health.
I hate health bars. Like, I could do, like, a 20-minute, like, video on health bars.
You can't do a 20-minute video on health bars.
I bet I could.
Well,
I wrote my thesis on health bars, everybody.
Another good thing about Die by the Sword is the health bar only shows up if you press a button, and it doesn't tell you, well, because it's an old game, it has a basic tutorial. It doesn't say anything about that. So you can go through the whole game without a health bar, because you'll see that your leg's, like, bleeding and you have a massive cut in your face.
Well, that's why I liked Bushido Blade, is because there was, at any point, there were no sort of warnings whether you were going to get one shot or not. There was, like, the difference between life and death was just that. If you got stabbed in the wrong place, you'd die.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what I liked
Some
about
games
this.
worry way too much about balance to do anything as kind of risky as that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that gives them a lot of charm.
That's why I like games like Dark Souls, where it is all about the experience of combat, and a lot of the cool stuff comes from dying and getting overrun by monsters, but then it's also surrounded by a lot of these balanced RPG elements. And sometimes I kind of want a linear story that's all about getting your ass kicked and overcoming them by just pure resilience.
Well, an interesting method of doing what's it called? Like difficulty through progression is actually the reverse of what most games do. Like most games, as you go on with your quest, you get stronger and stronger, and you get better and better. And enemies, unless it's very well balanced, enemies tend to get easier the more you play. But an interesting game that does like the opposite of that, not to the full effect of something like a full RPG or action game or whatever, but Swords and Sorcery. What's it called? Super Brothers Swords and Sorcery.
Yeah.
Like, that game, as you progress, you fight these bosses, and every time you fight the boss, it's like the battle of your fucking life, because it's this it's basically a fight with a triangle, and it's like an incomprehensible being.
Yeah, Christ.
And then, it's such an intense battle, but every time you fight it, it wears the shit out of you, and you lose your health bar over time. So you start off the game with 3 hearts of life, and by the end of the game you have half a heart of life, and you have to fight the final boss of the game with half a heart of life. And it's really challenging, but it's a really good way of doing that sort of progression, because you get better at the game, so you learn how to block and when to block, so you don't need the life bar anymore. And I'd love to see a game do that, but on a much bigger scale, and have it so that when you get to the final boss of the game, you are exhausted. You haven't slept all day, and you've been adventuring, and you're wounded as shit, and you're basically more than half dead before you even fight the final fight. And I feel like something like that would have a really good feeling to it.
Yeah, I genuinely can't think of any game that even comes close to that, and that would be
That would be an amazing idea for a game where there would be a real-time timer where essentially you're going into a dungeon, but you've got a disease or some kind of curse that's slowly killing you, and the longer you play, the more the curse gets to you, and you're going to this dungeon to cure you, And by the end of it, you're close to death, depending on how well you play it.
Yeah.
Well, the only game that I know that does something like that, it doesn't do it exactly that, but the only game that kind of pulls off that kind of thing is Eternal Darkness, when you play as this guy called Anthony. He's a medieval character, and he looks at a scroll which curses him.
Yeah, and he's slowly dying for like the duration of the time.
He's slowly becoming undead.
Yeah.
So the more you die, the more kind of undead that he gets, and that even happens over time. And a game where that's the case, where you kind of start off as this well-to-do hero, but like towards the end you just become this kind of shambling corpse that can barely scratch itself along the ground. I think that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I guess kind of like Dark Souls, but
I mean, in Dark Souls you can go to bonfires and.
Well, no, but I meant like in terms of the lore, like instead of like, oh, you die and now you're hollowed, it's like you're a human and you're slowly becoming hollowed over a duration.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Like if you got to the end boss and the second you defeat
you've lost all your skin.
That kind of reminds me. I was being a massive loser and listening to the Dark Souls OSTs, and the expansion for the first one actually puts in a character that you hear about in game called Artorias.
Oh yeah, we're talking about this.
Yeah, and basically he's essentially a fallen knight, and it's such a powerful concept. Because he's this hero that's he's achieved so much and he's done everything with good intentions, and then he's got to the point where he becomes hollow and he kind of can't control himself anymore. And like at the start of the song, it has this like fucking gut-wrenching scream.
Yeah. Well, he's you basically. He's a failed version of you. Sort of. me and Dave were talking about it because he basically the world is like cursed and like everything is terrible, and he's like trying to do the right thing, but it all like corrupts him or whatever. And so like the last good thing that he does is he saves Sif the wolf.
Yeah.
And then he like loses his arm.
Yeah. Like when you fight him, he's got a broken arm, and at the end, when you meet him, he's just sitting in the middle of a coliseum waiting for someone to kill him. Yeah. Someone worthy to kill him. Yeah. Even with a broken arm.
Yeah. And then you were saying that, like, if you kill Sif before you kill him, then he gets, like, an extra line of dialogue where he's, like, dying and he's like, there you are, Sif, or something.
Yeah, he says, Sif, my friend, finally we can be together or something, and then dies.
Yeah, it's really sad.
That's really touching, yeah.
Yeah, he does say, like, he says, I can see you now, and then he dies. So, like, in his version of heaven, he's with Sif, essentially.
Yeah.
It's sad as hell.
That is how you use narrative in a game.
And then when you play New Game Plus, and you've already defeated Sif, you play him again. When you meet Sif, instead of him jumping at you, he'll jump towards you, walk over to you, sniff you, and then reluctantly turn around and take his sword out.
Is that because you have the Abyss Walking Ring?
Yeah, because you've already beaten him and he knows.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Like, this is how you do exposition. Well, this is how you do like visual narrative in video games.
Yes,
you don't just have somebody exposit to you for like 20 minutes about like why it's so bad that you just killed a dude.
Yeah, if it was just like, you've killed my master. I'm not happy about that, but I'm going to turn around and do some stuff. I don't bloody know. It's just not as powerful.
That's why, like, I think MGS4 did that wrong. Like, when you kill the women boss things, and, like, after you kill them, Otacon calls you, and... No, not even Otacon. Whoever it is calls you. And tells you all of the bad shit that happened to them. But you don't care because you've already killed them.
It's too slow on account. Jeez.
Yeah.
Not only that, you killed them, and then they did that weird thing where they like walk towards you and try and straddle a snake.
Yeah. That's weird.
That crap just that game does a really bad job of forcing you to care about those characters. Those bosses are naff as hell. I do not care about killing them.
Alright, so what was your
we've
topic,
talked
Dave?
about Dark Souls enough.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got like 10 minutes left.
We went from my topic to Dark Souls, for God's sake.
Let's just talk about Dark Souls. Fuck the topics. This will be the Dark Souls episode.
We've already done it.
I want Dark Souls now.
Yeah, did you have a topic, Dave?
Yeah, it was kind of about... it was about shitty game trailers, but I'd be fine with talking more about Dark Souls.
If we want to talk
2.
about game trailers, then we can talk about Dark Souls 2, because the original game trailer that came out, I've watched it, I swear, at least about 30 times, because it's just so well made. And then the additional trailers with the gameplay ones, the Go Beyond Death, is a really good one. It really kind of pumps you up for it.
Yeah, I watched them the other day.
They came up with a really weird recent one where it was just like a rock song during all the gameplay. It was really unfitting.
Oh yeah, that one was really bad.
Don't know
it's
why
on the
they
Steam
released
page,
that.
like it's the first one in the adverts list.
Yeah.
But the second one is really good, where it's like cutscenes and stuff of the like guy that you play as wandering around and fighting all of these things. And there's a bit where he gets like stabbed by like 20 dudes and gets shot by like a ton of arrows, and he's just like dying and shit. You wouldn't see that in any other trailer, but because it's Dark Souls and because you know the context of like how death works in that game, you're like, yeah,
Yes, and yeah, I love how it does that. It shows him like punctured by tons of arrows, and then I think one of the next clips is he slowly stands up, breaks one of the arrows, and then turns and faces them again.
Yeah,
That is how you do a trailer.
oh, it's so good.
Also, like the NPCs, the game is a lot more self-referential about how Dark Souls works. Like one of the old ladies essentially says to you, "You'll get souls and you'll lose them again and again and again, and even if you fail, I'm sure you can come back with a clean slate." Which is essentially saying, if you're sick of this character, you're just going to make a new one and continue the process over and over again.
Like teaching you and talking about game mechanics using the game world is, again, more clever writing. And
So, who do you play in Dark Souls 2? Is it the same character that you played in Dark Souls 1, or is it just a different...
Dark Souls 1 is an ending, and I assume this takes place quite a long time after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, regardless of what happens, there's still shit going on.
Yeah.
Or, worst comes to worst, things got better, but a new curse has happened.
Well, what I heard is they kind of said, think of Dark Souls as the North Pole, and then Dark Souls 2 as the South Pole.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's very kind of detached.
Yeah.
And I know in the first one it says, "You are the chosen undead." And then this one, I'm not quite sure what they kind of classify.
This one, they just kind of say you're going through the motions like everyone else.
Yeah.
That's why there's a lot more NPCs. You're just another one of another traveller.
Yeah.
They call you.
So it's
Which I guess is cool because it kind of fits the motive of making shitloads of characters because you're just another traveller.
it's not forcing, I don't know, being the Dragonborn.
You are the chosen one, yeah.
You are the dragon.
You can't be killed, mate. You're the fucking bomb. It's more like you're shit.
I don't necessarily want to spoil the ending of Dark Souls for myself, but what is your end goal? Like, is your... Because, like, at the moment, I feel like the end goal of Dark Souls is to die. Is to find a way to permanently die. Because, like, you... Like, the idea that you're constantly dying and being brought back to dead, like, continually. Like, you can never truly die. I feel like the quest of Dark Souls is to find a permanent death.
Not quite.
Not quite? Okay.
No, it's... I don't know. I don't really want to tell you, but the ending isn't...
Don't then. Yeah. If it's not that, then don't tell me.
Yeah. I'd say the journey is the most important part.
You get a snow ski and you ride off without a combat.
And you get to call him Dave.
And he puts his hand on your shoulder and whispers subtly in your ear, "You killed Sniper Wolf." He just very gently just goes up to you and just goes, "Fuck you."
And then he drives you into the bed of chaos, where you will die 15 times. Also, some of the comments on the Dark Souls trailer, someone was just like, "I died 3 times watching this."
Oh yeah, one really cool thing in Dark Souls 2 is in the hub world there's a statue which totals every single player's deaths.
Oh damn, that's cool.
So like one person who was playing a review copy looked at it and it said 3 deaths, and then he came back and it was like 385,900.
Wow.
On the release day. That's gonna be a huge list.
Oh my god.
It'd be cool if something happens to that statue when like it hits a certain amount of deaths.
I'd like there to be a personal one as well.
Yeah, I think there is.
That's like
that might have been what the 3 deaths was actually.
That's like that statistic in League of Legends a while back that was like 1 Teemo dies every like 0.5 seconds or something.
And that's a good thing.
I just quickly want to ask a question about the lore again. Is there a link between Demon's Souls and Dark Souls? Are they the same world?
They are not. The only link... well, there's like really subtle links. I think there's a character from Demon's Souls and Dark Souls. And there's also the Yellow King guy, I forget his name.
Gwyn?
No. He's like a subtle invading character that gives you these crazy yellow robes. But his costume, not his character, his costume is based off a character in Demon's Souls.
Yeah. Right. I think the only character that is kind of not canon but just appears is Snuggly the crow.
Yeah.
So it's...
Also, they changed Snuggly the crow in the second one. You get specific items which are like smooth rock items that they like, and instead of just dropping it and restarting and going back to see what they give you just drop it and then it's a randomly generated item.
Okay.
From like a pool, like one of the people said it was like sort of the Japanese machines where you put in a coin and it comes out with a random ball with a toy in it. That kind of thing. Like you just get a random odd item, not like a super powerful sword, but maybe a couple of soul stones.
Yeah.
I guess that makes
like
it more rewarding.
Machine.
Makes it more rewarding to get the items the proper way. Then kind of I know you can get the demon great hammer thing by giving her something really basic.
Yeah.
Snuggly's the one that you give soft things to, right?
Yeah. Give him warm and soft.
So Demon's Souls isn't in the same world at all.
No, Demon's Souls is
Demon's Souls.
Yeah, there's this guy who does Dark Souls lore videos. I think it is Vati Vidya, something like that.
Yeah, Vati.
Yeah, and he was kind of saying how he would have liked it if they kept with the format, because Dark Souls 2, I think that's literally a kind of they did it to keep the name that everyone would recognize. Yeah. But it would have been better if it was like a new prefix.
Basically, so if it's like the same thing that they did with Demon's Souls and Dark
so
Souls.
Like Dragon's Souls or something.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be better than Dark Souls 2, because that feels out of place almost.
Yeah, it's like the Souls bit becomes the brand then, as opposed to
the Dark Souls. Yeah,
That's why they always referred to it as the Souls series.
Yeah, because it's kind of cutting off Demon Souls.
Well, yeah, because basically the reason why I asked is because I was debating whether or not it's worth playing Demon's Souls or not.
I wouldn't know, but I would probably say go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's a lot harder.
I kind of really want to try.
Yeah, it is a lot harder, I've heard.
Because before Demon's Souls, there was the series called King's Field, and I bought King's Field 4 for the PS2, and it's one of the hardest games I've ever played. Like, I can't even get past the start, and it's so confusing and... Ugh.
Yeah, I'm really starting to like difficult games now.
Definitely.
I never used to.
It's because you're.
All right. So we're coming to the end of the podcast now, I think.
Stick of truth.
Where are you now, by the way?
I'm at Cooper Keep, which is Cartman's kingdom.
Okay.
Fantastic. So the moral of the podcast is play Dragon's Dogma. Come on, it's good. It's not Dark Souls, but it's good.
Play us out, Christopher Walken.
Thank you, and good night.